Operating margin sitting at about 5.7%. That was at December 2009.
Yes, we took a loss in that period on a particular area, so that depressed the margin.
Where are margins headed from here? Because again, that's another criticism from the market, that the margins in the construction space are low given the level of competition.
At the back end of the 25-year decline in activity, margins were non-existent. I mean, we really had just been hammered for 25 years with very little activity and everybody fighting over what was available. And then when you did your job, at the end of it, there was nothing new. We are in an upward trend. I mean, I'm fairly confident that margins will remain above 5%. I think the industry itself has got its mind around this margin issue. That the well-being of the industry, the ability to train people, to do research and development, to create a future is a function of your margin. This is what ultimately gives you the returns. If you're operating on too thin a margin, you can't make any investment, and as a result you start to kill your business slowly. So we're seeing some level of sense, but there are always players in the marketplace that are prepared to take a project at a low price. The critical issue is this is not becoming the only differentiator. Safety, for instance, is a differentiator. And most global clients today will look at a safety track record before they'll look at price.
With the level of competition in the construction arena, is there room for consolidation? Would it make sense to put a couple of the bigger players together?
Well, look, I mean, we have consolidated the South African industry already. We acquired the Cementation Group, we acquired Concor, we've got a couple of small acquisitions. There is always room for consolidation. Consolidation is part of a process of renewal. So businesses merge, it creates space for new businesses to grow. I think contrary to some view that in fact concentration is bad, there is a point at which it becomes monopolistic and therefore problematic. But as you create a consolidation, you really shift a business profile to some extent. It really just is like taking a tree out of a forest. You create the opportunity for other trees to grow. And this is a very essential part of the development of any industry. So yes, there will be consolidation.
Brian, I want to take this opportunity for viewers to get to know you a little bit better. And one of the questions that I regularly ask the captains of industry is whether they've got a sense of balance in their lives. So beyond just the corporate arena, do you have balance, in your opinion?
I think balance is different. I've had this question asked of me all the time over the many years. I feel I'm a very balanced person. So I spend an inordinate amount of time in my profession and my career. So I really have dedicated my life to construction and engineering, and I suppose to Murray & Roberts in a sense. I have always viewed Murray & Roberts as an astounding organization, and for me it's an enormous privilege to have had the opportunity to lead it and to have taken what the founders of the organization, who I met when I was a young engineer, and really take their principles forward into the future. There have been sacrifices in this particular context, and I guess over the years my family has actually stood behind me and have supported this, but they've had less of me than I guess most families have of their father and their husband. And but you know, I live a very balanced life. You know, I have things that I enjoy, and I practice them whenever I can. I do what I want to do when I do it. I'm not a workaholic, although a lot of people think I do. I am. But you know, I know what I need to do, and construction engineering is a very, very demanding business. There is no real place for stepping back and believing that construction engineering will run itself.
If you had the opportunity to do it all again, would you do exactly what you've done?
I was born for this.
And I see in my research, I Googled you and I came across a document where somebody had asked you what about retirement. And your response was, what is retirement?
What is retirement? I can remember the last person that retired from Murray & Roberts. It was a number of years ago. I think people today, in fact, just change their lifestyle. They move on. Nobody really wants to just go and vegetate somewhere. There might be some people who do wish to do that. I've got many, many colleagues who are in their 70s and who are still contributing economically, using their engineering or their business expertise, and really continuing to either mentor people, engage in the universities. I've got a strong interest in education. So, you know, I have supported Murray & Roberts' involvement in education programs across a number of dimensions. And I myself have used a lot of my spare time into the education environment if I can. One thing that we learned a number of years ago when we did a research report into what constitutes a sustainably successful company was something that struck a chord with me. And that sustainably successful companies, their leaderships understand how their companies are integrated in society, and they feed a lot back into that society. And I think this is an important issue, that people do it on their own bat, but they also allow their companies to do it.
And then just one final question for investors out there, for potential investors in the construction story, and specifically Murray and Roberts going forward. The debate has been raging. When is the time to get back into the construction stocks? Do you believe that the time is now?
Well, I think you can't go wrong if you come back in now. I think we're still bouncing around the bottom a little bit. I think the South African element in particular offers some level of uncertainty. But yes, the industry will grow into the future. And it just, I don't think there's a rush to get back in. But I don't see that the industry is going to go any further down than it has.
Brian, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.